Are you sweating? I'm absolutely
It's really hot under these lights. Talk about conspiring against them. Yeah, they didn't use LEDs today.
Yeah.
I was reading about how you were like phonetically writing out everything, and I'm wondering, since you two are known for voices and accents, if you could just have a little chat with each other, compare.
Chat.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you're so masterful in the way that you do it.
Who's that good-looking guy over at the pool table?
Oh, Kathy, you don't want to go out with him.
Why not? He don't look like the rest of these animals.
Listen, a good
don't
dialect,
know.
like, it's not even, I feel like if you find a dialect coach who is so brilliant and wants to delve and be playful, like, you have to, you know, if someone's so good at their job, like we were saying earlier, walking onto a set like this where everyone is just so brilliant at what they do, like, it forces you to, well, what makes you want to step up and, like, bring your best. I feel like me and Austin always kind of jump in and out. Like, I feel like we have a similar approach in a sense of, like, jumping in and out of a scene.
Yeah. You were amazing because you could talk like this and then jump into Kathy in an instant. I see in that is that you did so much work beforehand that led you to be able to have that freedom. I know I've been scared in the past and have thought, oh, I'm gonna lose it, and so then I feel that I have to stay
In it.
all the time. And that's not to say staying in character, it's just staying in the muscularity of whatever the thing is.
So I guess that's the number. But it felt like more.
Because everything is conspiring against authenticity. You know, you have these cameras, you have everybody's looking at you, you have half a set, you know, it's, whatever it is conspiring against the feeling of truth. You know, and so whatever you can do to stack the deck in favor of the feeling of it being real life, I think is, you know, how I sometimes approach things. But to watch you're able to snap in and out in a such a beautifully talented. Oh yeah, what's the right word? You're just really skilled, like incredibly skilled and beautifully talented.
Was there a certain Jeff Nichols film or moment that made you want to work with him?
I remember years ago going on a Jeff Nichols marathon where I watched Shotgun Stories and Midnight Special and Take Shelter and you know, and then when Loving came out, then watching Loving and the poetic nature that he tells stories with, the themes that he delves into, and I could just tell that he had a big heart from watching his films as well, you know?
Yeah.
And that's exactly how he is. He's so intelligent and such a great artist, but not pretentious at all. And we were talking about that Americana aspect as well, that he just oozes out of him. You know?
I'm also curious about the immersion of the world. Like, it felt so real. You could like feel the dirt and the grime and like smell these guys. So was there a favorite costume detail or hair and makeup detail that helped you immerse yourself, or things like that to help you get in that world?
For me, like with Kathy on the pictures, like things I took from the photographs were like, her hair was always really messy. Like either she'd been on the back of the motorcycle or she'd been with the kids in the house and they'd had their sticky fingers in her beehive, you know? There was that kind of, or her eyeliner was always really worn in, and you know, her pants were a little ill-fitted, and the way she stood was always like, her legs were always kind of wide and like bold, and almost quite, there was something quite masculine about that, which they were kind of my things I kind of clung to initially.
Yeah, smell of cigarettes and gasoline. You know?
I mean, so many cigarettes on that job.
So many cigarettes, the writing, the immersing myself in the writing. And then, yeah, obviously, like Erin, our brilliant costume designer, was who I was such a massive fan of before this, because she did Drive, she did Place Beyond the Pines, I mean, some of these iconic outfits that we love, you know, she's been behind.
It spans over like 10 years, you know. We start in the late 60s and finish in the late 70s, so it was, they were constantly evolving, felt the characters,
As you're saying, like, it takes place over this long time span. Austin, you were in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which also kind of deconstructs that time period. And I was wondering if you took anything like from that role and brought it here.
We've spoken about this a little bit today, but just culturally, that late 60s period, what was happening in the world at that time. And in many ways, America was being just ripped apart, you know, and fight for civil rights and for Vietnam's happening, and this sort of pure feeling of the 50s, you know, the white picket fence of the 50s suddenly being torn apart, you know, and the free love movement and you know, Haight-Ashbury and all of that, and how that is then just affecting the entire world, and the influences on, even the people that are in the motorcycle club, you know, the drinkers giving way to drugs and what that looks like, and what the difference in the heroin world to drinking, you know. So all of that kind of, I would say.
Did you watch The Loveless with Willem Dafoe?
I just was talking about that. Yes.
No, I actually haven't seen it,
seen that
but
one?
no,
Okay.
I'm gonna have to.
That's the
Yeah.
next.
That's okay. It was like his feature debut, and it really reminded me of this.
Willem Dafoe is one of the coolest people you'll ever see on a motorcycle. I mean, in that film, Jeff Milburn, who most of the bikes you see in the film are his personal bikes, and he also was my, you know,
teacher.
Yeah, the guy that I really learned so much from as far as motorcycles go, and we just rode many hours together. But he told me to watch The Loveless, and I hadn't seen it, and then I watched it maybe 5 times before I started filming. It's just wonderful. It's such a great film. Willem is fantastic. There's so many one-liners in that film as well. Doesn't he say something just like, he's at the diner and he just says, "Scramble them" or something? Jeff would know the actual quote, but or "scrambled," you know, rather than saying what kind of eggs. And there's this one moment where he takes the bike off the kickstand and then kickstarts it, and which is an incredibly hard thing to do, because
Especially when you have like 500 crew members
Yeah.
watching you
yeah,
do it.
totally, completely.
You know, when you're like trying to do something and then there's like a, you know,
Yeah.
multitude of people just watching
It's
you do
true.
it. The pressure is,
The pressure
is times
through the
100.
roof, yeah. Yeah, and he just is so calm. And that's something that I learned as well, is just take your time. Just how calm he is through things. And when he kicks the bike, it doesn't start on the first go, but he just calmly kicks it until it starts. But it's off the kickstand, which is, it's not a kickstand. But I'm just.
You're not in school
it's-
anymore.
I'm not in school anymore.
And even just
I'm
mentioning The
jet lagged.
Loveless, a lot of people will add it to their Letterboxd watch list. So you're contributing to the Loveless Letterboxd
That's
watch
great.
list.
Yeah,
bump.
let's get
Yes,
the love
we're gonna bring
there.
it into the culture.
And Streets of Fire too, another film, but yeah.
Bump for Streets of Fire as
Yeah, there
well.
you go.
The Wild One, obviously,
yeah.
that's featured in the film. I just watched it recently, and my takeaway was I need to start dressing like Marlon Brando, which was the wrong takeaway. But I was wondering if, like, what your takeaway was from watching that film.
The fact that that was a film that influenced Johnny to get into that headspace of thinking, what's the inspiration for him, even just spiritually, to want to be a part of that, you know?
Jodie, as we just kind of mentioned Marlon Brando and how all these guys look up to him. And when I was watching the film, I kept wondering, like, who does Kathy look up to? Like, was there a pop culture icon at the time that maybe she would want to emulate, or is she just fully her own person?
I mean, that's a question I would like to ask Kathy. That was a question from earlier. I was like, that's a good question for Kathy. I think I'm not quite sure on that, but I think for me, what I kind of referenced, so there was an essence about her, about the way that she communicated and her, the kind of liveliness about her. You know, there was a real energy to her, which I immediately thought of my nan who'd passed away. Like, she was the most incredible storyteller, but she could tell you the story 6 times and the 6th time would be just as interesting, if not more than the first. And there was something about when I listened to Kathy's audio, I was like, I leaned in. You know, there's something about her where you're just immediately drawn in. So I think especially like the older women in Liverpool, like there's something about them that I felt within Kathy. So that was something that I kind of lent into. So I think what was interesting about their relationship was like the thing that she fell in love with then became the thing that she wanted him away from. You know, that's a tricky thing with love, is like, you know, this kind of element of like wanting to control, or, you know, I always felt Kathy was the most reliable narrator, and I think that's why Jeff chose her as the narrator, was because she was kind of on the outside and could see a lot of it for what it was. But also it's like, memory is a very tricky thing, and, you know, we all have very different experiences. So how reliable she is, I don't know, but I like to feel she was probably the most out of all of them. I found great power in her being the one to tell a story. You know, it felt like she had a lot of agency within that, and it was incredibly fun to play around with.